Hello, welcome to the next instalment on the East End Docks. And I was really hoping to get a lot further than I have been, but there is a lot to do. I'm on to try and build it as fast as I can and speedy. Probably doesn't always work sometimes with the quality, but I've got the arches on the opposite side of the viaduct that I need to finish. All the walls to go through, more arches there. I've got plenty more to cut out as well. And I also want to concentrate on this dock scene this week. I sort of saved that, maybe useful for a chimney, I don't know. So I need to sort out how I'm going to do this bridge. And really, how I was sort of thinking of was using these sort of girders. They're quite flexible, 3D printed, but not matching up that well on the boards that I've made. So I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to make that look that good yet. So I'm going to need to do some sort of a brick support roughly here, like that. Need a bit lower. And I wasn't sure whether to just put an arch there and then have the wall come along like that and then just infill this top piece, but I'm not sure. So that's taking a little bit of thinking, because it looks a little bit odd at the moment. I am going to have some buildings here, and I was actually thinking if I put a low relief building sort of here and then quite high, and then something going over to hide the exit. So, but it's all thought in process at the moment. You know, I've not really sort of considered how to disguise all of this. So anyway, enough talking. I need to get on with this dock. Right, so I was looking how to disguise this bottom section. So I've just put a temporary bit of brick wall in there, and just a temporary piece on there. I've glued this on there, and I just wanted to make sure. I mean, I'm not going to be running coaches around this bottom bit, but it's nice to have clearance. And that'll be, even if it's quite a large loco running around this bottom section, should clear everything. So, but I can push this in a little bit more. So, and I'll then just have a bit more sort of a bridge section there going over the river. And I think that'll be okay. So I've got to take these bits out. I'm going to ballast this piece in, because if nothing's set secure yet, but if I ballast it afterwards, it could all soak into the paper textures. So I'm just going to pop these back out. I've actually put some like foam on the back of these, so it allows a lot more flexible, so it can sort of bend around a little bit easier. So that's my next job, just ballast that, so then I can get this sections in place and start to get that finished there. Then I can start getting this piece finished. Right, as you can see, I've got all the ballast down on that small section. Just going to now let that dry before I can really finish that bridge off or anything. But one thing I do need to do is get this shuttle system set up, and I need to know exactly where I want to put the diodes. So, and I was hoping that I'd probably get 2 wagons on there, but it's only going to be the one. So obviously you can have a buffer stop there. So I think that's probably a good area. So if I put it about there, then the diode, I need to do a cut. And where it goes just into the factory system. think just there. And that would then give me just enough space. The idea is it's supposed to look like it continues that track. I've got my shuttle system wired up, and I'm just using 2 diodes on this. So I could use an east and west wire, but I've got the diodes sort of on very long wires just underneath the board at the moment. So I'll shorten those. It was just made it easier when I was just doing the testing mode. So, and I've got this set up nice and slow. Wasn't suitable for running that loco. I haven't really got a suitable steam locomotive for this setup. This one just requires way too much power. You put the power on full and it just only moves sort of a short distance and too fast then. Just needs too much current to start it. And obviously I need to work on the wait times and speed a little bit. So I didn't get it to travel all the way that time, so I need to work on that. So you just turn that off, make sure we go in the middle. Yeah. And it should get to the diode, and then the board is still telling me that it's travelling in that direction, but now we're waiting. Hopefully not too long. Okay, it's about to change direction. We'll get to where the factories are and diodes on the other side. So I must have not got it in the right position when I started it. And then it's got a nice wave, so you can see flashing, so it's still going in that direction. And then now it's going to change direction. And that's nice slow control speed. So that's all working. I can get on with the next stage. I'm just marking out where I'm going to be starting to put some of this hard standing. And I've just got this last piece of card in. So this is just made from 2 1.5mm pieces of card. Oh. Glue. And this gives me a nice edge to work to, and the card's delaminating there. Okay, let's get a bit more glue. Now I'm going to let all that glue dry. Dries fairly quick actually, this one, so it's quite good. All the ballasts are now all dry, so, and I've checked, I've started to put a piece in there. Need to put just a something up the side there to hide that joint, and then I can get the sort of the bridge support there in place. Need to just modify one of those slightly. Right, time to get the hard standing in place, and I'm just using my favourite, which is the advanced polyfiller. It's not that cheap, but it makes a really good concrete surface, I find, and it's very light, sort of, and easy to apply. So I'm just going to start that now. Get plenty on, and then I'll level it all off. I'm going to continue getting all this on, and then come back once I've got it all on and start levelling some of it off. Now I've got quite a lot on there, so I'm going to try and smooth this off as much as I can. This bit takes the longest. Need the container. Where can I put that? It's not my best ruler, so not too worried for, but it'll dry, it washes off. Right, what's happened there is because I didn't put any water on the ruler. Now I'm going to need to put some more back in there. It's one of these games where you're taking some out and putting some back in and spending time just trying to get it as level as possible. And it's not 100% needed, because I'm going to sand it down afterwards. But it's best to get it as close as I can, so I'm going to continue trying to get this as level. Right, that's fairly reasonable for that piece. Now I just want to make sure that the wagon can go over there. I'm just going to let all this dry. Always use a really old one. It's got nice big flanges on there, so there's a couple of little bits that I don't want to keep touching because it just keeps messing it up, and I'm going to sand those off afterwards. And then I might need to just put a slight top layer on to cover where there's card edges and things like that, but I need to let that dry because I've got it a little bit wet and it's starting to just keep peeling off. So I'm going to leave that section now, let that all dry, finish this next section off and let it all dry. Right, the hard standing is starting to dry. So what I've done is obviously some sort of access here. There'll be some gates going across. There will be a fence that comes along all the way down anyway. And then obviously there's a vehicle access that will go in there. This is still drying, not perfectly dry yet, and it is quite uneven. There's a few bits in there that need filling in, so there's a little bit of filler to go over the top. And just down here, you can see where the rest of the dock. So this is just the hard standing, and obviously we're going to have a bit of a road entrance there as well. So there will be a fence that goes all the way along, sort of a type of barbed wire security type fence. So I've not 100% decided how I'm going to do that or buy it. So, but then we've got proper vehicle access for more of the heavier goods vehicles to come out and round. I'd say it's solid enough now to do a little bit of sanding down, try and get rid of some of these imperfections. I'm going to need to put a little bit more filler in on some of these bits, I think. Right, before I get too carried away, just thought make sure all this all still works. And that's stopping about perfect. It's quite a long weight that I've put on at the moment. I think it should be ready to change any second now. Well, that all works. Right, let's try and get this snow scene into a more realistic. So I've got a nice grey wash there. And just drain the brush a little bit. It'll probably take a few coats to get this how I want it. As you've probably noticed, I've done a few score lines. I forgot to really show that bit. The idea of that is just to sort of give it an idea of the concretes in a few sections. I'm always unsure how this is going to end up sometimes, so just take a bit of that off. Too wet there. Right, I think I'm just going to just let that dry. Before I get any more coats on it, so I'm going to do the rest of the layout same as that. Right, I've got that over all of the bits of the yard standing that I want. Now it's just let all that dry, have a bit of patience. That's been 2 coats of the grey wash. That looks okay. Not quite how I want it as dark, so I think I'll try the weathering powders on there. I could do another sort of a wash over that, but I think that'll be okay. I've done a bit of brown on the riverbed there, but I'm not quite keen on that colour, so I think it needs to go a lot darker than that. So I'm going to use a bit of a bigger brush this time because I've got quite a big areas to cover. So may regret putting that much on. And get it on the wall as well. Be careful. This one is quite a strong colour, so I've got to be careful of this one. I think that needs darkening up quite a bit. I can always add a bit more colour wash to it if I need to, because I think it's still way too bright. Oh, I think I've got way too much there. See, like it looks like I've not so brushed it. I've got too much on the brush. Now I'll get it on the wall. actually not that bad. When I add a bit of extra weathering with the airbrush, should look okay. I think I need to make those lines in the concrete a little bit deeper though. Now I do seem to have got quite a bit of I think weathering powders in there, some on the floor, so I need to do a bit of a good clean up, but I think that's okay. I've gone through the rest of the layout, so I'm just going to spray lacquer. Before I do that, I'm just going to protect the wall this time. And then get the rest of the layout done. And I just need to leave that all to dry, so don't even go near it. And if you're wondering what the weathering powders were, I was using these ones, the stone and cement, and a little bit of the ash and dust as well from Eco. Now one thing that I probably should have done before I put all the powder and weathering on is I wanted to make a muddy bank here. So I haven't really got anything apart from bits of rolled up card or anything like that. So I'm not sure if this is really going to work that well. So I'm going to give it a go. I can always take it back up. I might actually just wet it so it actually sticks in place a little bit better. The idea was I could have something like just on this sort of embankment, like a derelict barge sort of. But it's not working that well. Just some plaster cloth on it. Let's see if we can get it to set nice and hard. Still too big and bulgy. I normally use some like expanding foam or something like that, because I tend to find that gives me fantastic results and I can just carve it. But I haven't actually got any, and I don't want to buy some just for this small piece. You tend to find that a few months down the line it's all blocked up. You can't use it again. So I'm just going to give it a go with this. If it don't work with this, then I'll go and buy some expanding foam. And I can always add some extra filler over the top or something like that. And you can see why I should have. When I get water and everything everywhere if I'm not careful. So I need to be a bit more careful applying this. I mean, it will go nice and solid with this plaster bandage. So did want it sort of a bit under the bridge, so I've got no support at that side of the bridge, so the idea was to use this sort of embankment. I'm going to get a little bit more plaster cloth on there, let that dry, paint it up, see how. Right, I thought why I'm waiting for that, I'm going to get the rest of the ballast in. I am waiting for some fencing, and I really wanted to get that in before I got all this ballast in, but it seems to be taking forever to arrive. It's been over a week, but I'm going to get it in, and I can then put the fencing in afterwards. Maybe have to tidy the ballast up a tiny bit, but I'm just using my Woodland Scenics medium grey blend. That's all I've got. Could have done with a bit of blacks in there, but once it's weathered, it seems to look alright, like it did on the top there. And I'm just going to use my spoon and spend a long time brushing it in. Right, I think I've got all that how I want it. Seems to look okay. A little bit left in there. We get that brushed out. That's going to be good in the points. The more you keep looking, the more you go, oh, I just need to tidy that bit up and this bit. And then you saw another hour goes by and you just brush a tiny little piece off. And I just need to give it a bit of a soaking. Right, here it goes. Notice I just do the points just the same as I would do any other piece of track. Everybody else does the same thing. What I do is I keep making sure that the point's nice and clear as it's drying. But while I was sort of waiting for the ballast to dry, I thought I'd start making the dock seat. And I wasn't sure whether to use sort of the concrete piles. You know, I've not covered these in the texture papers yet, but obviously they would, you know, I've got these to do. Or do I do it with the brick? And I think the brick would probably be better, which I haven't used the brick in before. And I think that would probably be more prototypical of London. So I'm going to carry on getting these done. And there we have the finished dock. So I think that looks okay. There is obviously slight gap space in there because that was actually the join of the two pieces. So you can see that upper joining piece on the back there. And it looks okay. I mean, once I've got the boats in there, you're not really going to notice that. I did make a slight mistake and got some glue on there, but the glue will disappear once I put a few more coats of lacquer on, any glue marks and things like that. So I'll put a couple of coats of lacquer on at the moment. Just need some more. So let's go and get this fitted, and that's it. Well, I'm not going to fix it in fully, but I want to just see how it looks on the layout. Still a bit of ballast in there, so I've measured all this up, so it should just slot in, and then I could glue that in place. I need to do another bit of coat of paint on the so slab get up there. That'll need to. Oh, just came today is the fencing, and I want to put sort of the fencing along here, but it's arrived a little bit too late for this episode, and I wouldn't have had time anyway. So, but it's really nice. It's nice and printed. Needs a little bit of paint, so I need to do a bit of concrete colour on the concrete posts. But it's nice and flexible, so I can sort of bend it around any corners if needed. And I did think about using this sort of fencing, but I think that looks out of scale when I'm looking at this. So, right, so, and I think that just looks way too big. I think this one will be absolutely perfect for going along the edge of the, and it's just going to have a grass embankment along this side, no pavement, and then that will stop any of the traffic getting onto the railway. I'm just going to make sure I've got enough clearance. So where the ballast is, I've done it so the coaches hang right up to where the ballast is, or trains. So long as I put that just off there with an embankment grass sort of underneath it, it should all be perfect. But what I want to do now is just to get the tracks all weathered in. So I do apologise, I've not gone through all the colours this time really, so I just want to get the last one on. But if you want to see now I've weathered the top. Right, now I've got the task of getting all the track clean. So this is going to take a little bit of time, so I've got to be a bit careful. I just thought we'd have a nice look. Now it's all dried, track cleaned. It's not too bad, the weathering. It will need a little bit more. Yeah, well, not too bad with that. Well, starting to get somewhere. Obviously I've got a lot more work to do on this harbour scene yet. I've got some boats to build. I've got a bit more sort of work to do on the hard standing with a little bit more weathering and things like that. Track's running pretty good. The shuttle system now is perfect. I just did a little bit more extra cleaning on that bit of track and that's running back and forth like it should. That's just running on the DC. Obviously this is the DCC bus at the bottom. I've decided not to do the running session with the everything running tonight. I just wanted to try and finish off and get ready for the next video really. So I want to put the fencing in. There's some warehouse buildings that I need to work on, and I want to try and start on this backdrop to make that look into a much better scene and try and do a bit more weathering really. But it's taken a long time even just to get to this stage, you know, so I'm hoping in the next few weeks it should start to look really good, you know, once I get a few more buildings on and things like that. One thing I wanted to ask everybody on is this area here. Now, that was supposed to be like a muddy bank, but it just seems to be massive. I'm thinking of taking all that back out, putting in some of the brick work along here, and then putting a small piece of mud on the bottom, and possibly some broken bricks and rubble at the top here to give the impression that that wall's broken down and there's some mud that's coming from the you know, on the River Thames there. And but I think that just looks overpowering, you know. Let me know, because I need some sort of idea on how I'm going to do that. Anyway, I'm going to leave you now, and thank you for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this and seen me progress, and I hope to see you on the next one. Have a good evening or a good rest of the day and take care.